I'm right back with another video. It's like 10:18. Took a shower a little bit ago, and I'm getting ready to head back to bed. I took a nap today that lasted a little longer than I expected it to. I think I was just emotionally drained by the telephone call and everything. So it really does drain me when I have to deal with what I consider to be something weird. But I hopefully I'll be able to relax and get some sleep tonight. But I was thinking today about some of the things, the conversations I used to have with my dad. And when I was younger, my dad was very leery of people. He didn't like people. My dad was not a people person. I mean, he had some hunting buddies and whatever, but he pretty much had a general dislike for people as a whole. And I couldn't understand why he felt that way. Um, he would tell me things like, you don't have any friends in this world. And I would think, gosh, that's terrible. Because, I was thinking, well, you got lunch mates, you got people like that. But when you really think about it, most people really aren't as sincere and faithful as you would like them to be. And so I'm assuming, looking back, that my father had a lot of disappointments in people. And, now that I'm older, I fully understand what he's talking about. I personally, I realize that people generally have a selfish motive, and they're usually very self-centered and willing to do all kinds of evil things, basically to save their own skin or to promote themselves to be in a position that is better than someone else. So this is what the situation that I'm dealing with now. Um, as an adult, I'm very leery of people. I'm very polite to people, and I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. But then at the same time, I'm very suspicious of people and their motives, and rightfully so. And that's one of the reasons why um, like some people in my situation, they would. A lot of women, they want to hurry up and get into relationships and things like that. And I'm very leery of people to where, I try to be very careful about those things. And that's, had I not gotten married to Joel, I probably would have never gotten married at all, really. I've been very kind of standoffish, and rightfully so. When it comes to friendships, I try to seek out, women who are, strong and intelligent and very confident people. And, a lot of women have a lot of insecurities and that sort of thing. And that tends to prevent me from bonding with a lot of women. And it's unfortunate, but, women can be very petty and things like that, whereas I'm not like that. I've always been very supportive to the females that I've ever had relationships with, and I've always wished them the best. I think I'm a lot different than most people because I tend to be more sincere in my behavior than the average person. And a lot of it has to do with my upbringing and me being the kind of person that experienced a lot. So when I deal with, friendships, I usually put my friends, the ones that I do have or did have, I should say, on a pedestal. You know what I mean? And that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's how I believe life should be. There's definitely people that you have to separate into categories, like, for example, your acquaintances, people that you know, and then people that you develop, relationships with. And friendships are very hard to find. You see a lot of people, they associate with one another, but in situations, they will likely turn on another person um, whenever they feel it's a convenience for them. So I'm very well aware of human behavior, very, very well aware of it. And I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to sugarcoat things. I've shared my views and philosophies on relationships and friendships with my son. I don't think he was really old enough to understand it, but maybe hopefully in the future, he will understand it, that people really have to be looked upon as something that you need to be concerned about, and who you have to be very careful about when it comes to developing relationships with. And that's just the way it is. When it comes to, like love and things like that, well, I think that, I'm the kind of person that seems very devoted, you know what I mean? I'm a very caring person. And I choose to be very selective in those sort of things. And I know a lot of women, they like to date a bunch of men and that sort of thing, and that's their choice, okay? But I'm not like that, you know what I mean? I'm a very down to earth person, and kind of old fashioned when it comes to and in that sort of way. And that's how I choose to be. That's my life. And I'm not judging women who choose to live a different kind of lifestyle. That's who they are. Their psychological makeup, requires certain things of them, where they have certain desires or whatever. And that's who they are, so they have to pursue those sort of things. I'm not like that. And I'm very glad that I'm not. And like I said, I'm not saying that's the way it should be for everybody, but it is for me, So when it comes to relationships in general, whether those be platonic or romantic in nature, I'm very selective, and I have to be very careful. And I have to set boundaries from the very get-go. When it comes to people that you encounter and you meet or whatever, they need to respect boundaries. You know what I mean? Boundaries where there needs to be some sort of communication as to what you expect, what this person expects, and exactly what is considered to be going too far. Now I believe that there are certain people who on Facebook, who I've spoken to on the phone in the last few years, who were well aware of this wall that was rising up around me, that I was completely unaware of, and I feel a little betrayed by these people, only because it just goes to show you, and it's a perfect example of the insincerity of people that you consider to be your friends on Facebook. Kids that you knew in grade school are people that exactly what they are. That's exactly what they're acquaintances. You know what I mean? Don't confuse this for true friendships, because I will tell you that if I had true friends, I wouldn't be in this situation right now. Think about it. Um, um, I'm the kind of person that, I believe in sharing. I don't share most of my feelings with people. I just don't. I try to keep everything to myself, because most people don't understand how I view things. You know what I mean? I'm a realist. Okay, I don't like to. Um, I'm not somebody who believes in um, walking around with blinders on, or acting as if, you know, as if, a relationship is better than what it really is. You know what I mean? And I look at a lot of people who, associate with people, and then they turn around, they're talking about this other person, they're stabbing this person behind the back, then they're going out to lunch and they're having, laughing with this person, and this person's building, trust in this other person. This person deep down inside is going off and telling everybody else. I don't deal with those sort of relationships. I don't. I've learned a lot in the past, you know what I mean? And, if you don't learn from your mistakes, then something is wrong with you. It's like, um, I guess that's that old saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different outcome. Once you go through that experience, over and over and over again, you should be bright enough. A little light should click off in your head, like, this is not the way it's supposed to be. If you know 100 people, maybe one or two of them actually are going to be a true friend to you. A lot of people think, well, I got a lot of friends. Like, for example, you meet people on Facebook, right? These people are on Facebook, and you have, like, these little touch and go conversations and stuff like that. But if the shit hit the fan, think about it. Would these people be there for you? You know what I mean? Which, Facebook to me is I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of burnt out on Facebook right now at this point. Just not even really responding to a lot of the messages that have been coming through to me, only because, right now my mind is focused on getting back to work and getting my life back together. And some people are like, I'm not the kind of person that likes to, you know, talk or chat or do anything until my life is the way I want it to be, because it's too much of an anxiety issue for me to constantly. I'm not one of those people. I can't override things that are of that importance to me. So this is something that is seriously on my mind, okay? And nothing else is going to fix that, And so I get really irritated with these so-called friends and people that are so-called, claim to be so concerned about my general well-being, when in fact this is who I am, and they going against what I need and what I want, my expectations, is not showing any true caring about me. It's like you're doing what you think you would want to do. This is not what I want to do. My life is completely different than these people who got involved in my life, which they had no right to be involved in the first place, which I highly resent. Um, I don't, like, for example, I don't share what goes on in my life at work with my son. I never have, because I felt like my work life is becoming so um, frustrating and so draining that, for me to go and tell my son that this is what's going on at my workplace at the young age that he was, I didn't want to make him feel like he was, depress him or stress him out. I carried a lot of weight, during those years when I was raising my son and having all the frustration, the aggravation, the depression. I tried to do the best I could when it came to raising him. Was I a great parent? Was I perfect? No, not by any means, okay? But I did the best I could, okay? He had shelter, he had a place to live, and he was fed, okay? And yes, I loved my son very much, and I did love him, but I will tell you that the frustrations that these people caused in my life took a lot out of me, and it made me very moody, and it made me very depressed, you know? And, these are people that are of my own blood relations that did this to me, you know? How in the world could if your own family does this to you, how in the world could you even think about trusting other people? You can't. You can't. And so, I'm a person who's easy to get along with, but I'm not very easy to bond with. You know, I'm not a person that, just wants to sit here and click with just anybody. I don't want the association of the majority of people, other than, hi, bye, and, whatever. I'm very selective, and I should be, okay? Um, but I never shared that with him. And I'm very glad that I didn't. You know what I mean? That's my responsibility as a parent to keep that away from my kid. And I will say that I have suffered a lot, you know, raising him. And I'm very grateful that he's of the age now where he doesn't have to rely on me, because I couldn't deal with being in this situation with a young child. I couldn't. These people have put me in a very awkward position for no reason. You know what I mean? And and then when I think about these people who are involved, people that I never asked to be involved with, people that I left behind and thought I left behind, and they come trailing after me, that bothers me. It bothers me tremendously, because they made a big issue, and they made a terrible, what I consider to be a multi-million-dollar mistake. You're involving other businesses, you're getting involved in things that really isn't your concern. You're creating a financial disaster for me, and then you want to play games with having people call me up and all this other crap. So no, I don't like dealing with people. I can see how my father felt about people, you know. He had such a disdain for people that there were certain songs that he resented, you know what I mean? like that people who need people, and he used to just bitch about that song. I totally get it. You know what I mean? Or that Lean on Me song. I get those songs. I understand why he because it's bullshit. You know what I mean? That general mindset of people who think that, um, that you have someone to lean on, or there's someone out there that's going to give a shit. It's not like that in this world. Okay? This world is relentless when it comes to being ruthless, evil, and manipulative. It is extremely, extremely apparent to me, So, yeah, I'm very, concerned about who I encounter. And as a woman who's all by herself, and rightfully so, I feel as though the world has shown very little consideration for my situation, especially someone who is innocent and did the best they could. You know what I mean? I feel as though what I've experienced is extremely cruel and evil. It is extremely evil. And I'm very much aware of how people are, you know. And so it's very difficult for me to be, the kind of person that wants to be warm and cuddly. I see people doing this all the time. They go out and they cuddle each other, they're hugging each other as they see each other, and they're embracing each other, and they're so full of shit. They're full of shit, and it's obvious. You know what I mean? I want to live my life in a way where, I'm always upfront and I can be direct with people. My relationships have to be something that they have to be sincere, and if they're not, take a hike. That's just how it is. And then and I'm wise to be that way. Nobody can convince me that there's a better life or there's a better way of looking at it, because it's bull. That's not true. You know what I mean? It's not. Um, I think. I think this situation has taught me a lot. Not to take people for granted, not to assume just because, like, for example, you're related by blood by somebody, that they're going to show you the same consideration that you'd show them. Because I'll tell you what, when I found out that I was gang stalked, I was extremely concerned about it. I didn't exactly know where the source came from, but I do remember, alerting my family, my blood relations, and letting them know that I was in a very tight spot. No response from these people at all. They like to create the drama. They want to throw you into the middle of a fire, basically, and give you a glass of water and tell you to get out. That's what they did, So I don't really have any feelings for them at all at this point. You know what I mean? And why should I? Why should I? I would never do anyone that way. Never. Never, ever. I wouldn't treat a bum off the street that way. I really wouldn't. And I look at these people like, my God, I don't even know you. I don't know you. That's exactly how I feel. There's no way in the world I could have any sort of connection to people especially when you had no idea that these people were that psychotic. They're psychotic. It's psychotic to think that you can choose what a person does for a living. It's psychotic to manipulate somebody's employment, especially when that person's completely unaware of it. It's psychotic to create workplace mobbings and taking your issues and your frustrations or your jealousies or whatever out in the workplace so somebody else can enact something that you're too cowardice to do yourself. That's something right there that makes me lose respect for my blood relations. Whereas before, I would have put these people on a pedestal. I came across some website not a website, I don't even call it, like a web page or something, that I created back in 2011. I was talking about how much I loved my family. I took that shit off right there. I'm like, oh my God, what was I fucking thinking? I loved my family because I assumed that they were good people. I went to their house for the holidays. I remember having, I remember, having my arguments with them. I do remember being treated like shit when I was a kid, but I never realized exactly how bad these people really are. None. You know, and now I look at things in a completely different way. Like, I don't even know you guys. I don't know them at all. You know, so no, I have the right to feel the way that I do about people. You know, and rightfully so. So anyway, I think I said pretty much everything I needed to say. I'm gonna try to get some sleep, and try to figure out what I'm gonna do. But I can't live like this day in and day out. I can't sit here and worrying about, you know, I need a job. I have to go back to work. And my issue is, and my message to Karen and Johnson and Steve Murray and all these other people that illegally, irresponsibly, foolishly, retardedly got involved in this bullshit that should have never happened in the first place. It's none of your business. Fix it. You know, I mean, you have damaged a person that didn't deserve to be damaged. You know, and when I really think about it, whether you were thinking or you were convinced that all this bullshit was true or not, whether it was true or not, uh, it's none of your fucking business. You know what I mean? And now you look even stupider because nothing happened. I mean, yeah, I fucking hate people. Wrapping up this video, be back with another one later.